Yes and no. Yes and no. There's been conversations outside of the office, but in terms of the legality or the contractual aspect of things, we have been in executive session with an attorney present.
Great. And those discussions that you had held outside of executive session, did you ever learn why Miss Mann was being suspended?
Again, I'm going to instruct this witness not to answer that question because there's a protective order out there and it may bleed into the conversations that involve the attorney. So I'm instructing this witness not to answer those questions.
Are you refusing to answer my question?
I've been instructed not to. And I don't know if I'll say this. That is still an open matter, again, discussed in executive session. And I don't believe that an outcome has been reached.
Okay. And so again, you've testified now that you've discussed this outside of executive session, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you're refusing to tell me what you discussed outside of executive session?
I'm instructing her not to answer that question based on the fact that there's a protective order out there and the fact of the matter is that it's been discussed in the executive council and this may bleed over into the conversations that were had there. And as Ms. Carr has indicated, this is still an open matter that's being discussed in the executive council with attorneys. Mm-hmm. So I'm instructing her not to answer that question.
Sure. You may not be aware, but if you were aware that the ALJ in this matter already advised Mr. Reardon that he didn't believe that his reasons for ending the deposition or it's citing attorney-client privilege.
Hey,
excuse me, I'm going to finish and then you'll have your chance. No, you're not going to interrupt me. You're absolutely not going to interrupt me.
Go to it.
Thank you. Thank you. I will. I was, and I'll continue. Now, what I was saying there was that are you aware that the judge had already discussed this issue with Mr. Reardon and indicated to him that there was no such grounds to cite a privilege?
He has not made that decision yet.
Thank you.
You are misrepresenting what the judge said now. So, again, it's argumentative. I'm instructing you not to even answer that question because that's not a part of this lawsuit. It's argumentative, it's not appropriate, and not only that, it's not true.
I can understand if I had got caught saying today that I had told the opposing counsel that I was trying to schedule depositions with Ms. Herndon, and then Ms. Herndon testifies that no such conversations took place, I would feel the same way.
You are misrepresenting the testimony and what happened. Move on, get this deposition over with. You're wasting this deponent's time and thereby harassing her.
Do you understand that by refusing to answer these questions, the judge may order you to sit again for another deposition, and we could be right here again at Mr. Reardon's expense?
I understand that now. Yes.
Okay, thank you. What is the nature of Teresa Falderon's complaint against MPSU as you understand it?
So I understand that there were allegations of discrimination, discriminatory practices in the hiring process, and I am aware that it's also the allegation of, I believe, sexual harassment in the workplace.
Okay.
But I do not have the details.
I understand. What knowledge, if any, do you have about Calvin Furman's complaints about Keith Posey?
I, along with the rest of the board, received written notification of his resignation, and in that he provided the board with a very detailed analysis of his experience in the administration, concerns that he presented, reasons why he's transitioning, and things that he felt we needed to be made aware of.
Okay, and what steps, if any, did the board take to respond to Mr. Furman's allegations?
We were in executive session with an attorney present where we were presented with the information, and we can't discuss it.
If in fact you were present in executive session with an attorney, I'm going to allege attorney-client privilege and instruct you not to answer any questions.
Okay, are you aware of any action that the board took in response to that notification?
I am aware of early on directives, but actual action, no.
What are those directives that you're aware of?
Again, it was an executive session.
Well, if it's an executive session, an attorney present, I'm instructing you not to answer.
Yes, I do believe that attorneys were present during some of those.
Well, who was giving the direction?
The board was giving direction to the council,
What-
giving directives.
Okay, were there any votes taking place?
I don't recall any votes. I do recall it was the majority consent, or the majority, a mutual consensus amongst the majority.
To do what?
Again, if this is an executive council with an attorney present, I'm instructing you not to answer the question, okay?
I want to be clear, you're refusing to explain to us what the board voted on in closed session because there was an attorney present? Is that true?
I have been advised by our counsel, because of attorney-client privilege, that I am not at liberty to discuss that.
How did you prepare for your deposition today?
We met, we just talked very openly about typically how this process goes. I was encouraged to be honest and to take my time to ask for clarification when questions are not understood. But aside from that, it was just kind of helping me prepare for the actual process itself.
Okay, and what does that mean?
At this point in time, I'm instructing you not to answer. That's attorney-client privilege, what we went through, so.
Is that what I asked?
It was a conversation between myself and the attorney, so that's attorney-client privilege.
Now I can ask the subjects, and I'm going to ask the subjects that you discussed. So what subjects did you discuss with that attorney?
The process for how this works. This is my first deposition. I had concerns coming in because I was not completely aware. I didn't know if I needed to do anything extra, ask any questions, and so my attorney advised me through that and just told me that what to prepare for.
And by your attorney, you mean Mr. Reardon?
Yes.
Okay. Did you review any documents?
I looked over some documents. Documents were presented, but not anything that I hadn't seen before.
Okay, what documents did you go over?
The notice of deposition and just the details as outlined in that.
Okay. Did you ever receive a notice of deposition prior to the one that you went over with Mr. Reardon?
Yeah, I received it via email.
Okay, so it's the same document?
Yes.
Okay, but you never received one earlier than that?
I don't recall.
Okay.
I don't recall.
All right. So, focusing again on MPS University, we've got, do you believe that there is fraud going on at MPSU?
Check the form of the questions, broad and vague. Also foundation as well as argumentative. Go ahead and answer if you can.
I don't know that I can thoroughly or 100% say that with actual facts or evidence in my hand. I have heard the allegations.
Great. Explain to me what you're aware of.
I was informed of the policy violations, the miscommunication or ineffective communication between those going through the program, those operating the program. I've heard allegations about funding not being provided in a way that it was promised to those going through the program. So I've heard a lot of allegations, but I wasn't there to experience it, and we have not talked about it much in any other.
Well, there's been an audit, right?
There has been audits.
Okay,
Yes.
and when you say you haven't really talked about it much, who are you talking about?
The board together. That's typically when decisions are made, when more information is provided, and when we get a better understanding of what's the issue at hand.
Okay, and what is the issue at hand at MPSU?
According to the allegations, fraud. I believe it was mentioned mismanagement of funding. But I think the biggest one has been fraud and, mismanagement of funding.
Because students at MPSU are not getting the license they're promised, right?
That's what I've heard, yeah.
Okay, and what steps have you taken since you've heard that to investigate that allegation?
So typically when a matter becomes a legal one, we are advised to not engage because it's a legal matter that includes attorneys and others.
Who advised you that?
The Office of Board Governance and the attorneys.
So once again, Jackie Mann told you not to investigate, and you followed that instruction, right?
I'm going to object to one of the questions. Broad and vague also misstates her testimony because she also added the attorneys as well. But go ahead and answer if you can.
I would say that she did not tell us to do that. I think the role of the board clerk and the leader of the Office of Board Governance is to protect board members from any legal retaliation. And so the advice was to ensure that we didn't make any mistakes and interrupt the process where we would then have to make decisions about on the legal side in terms of settlements and any other actions. And so
Did you come to Miss Mann asking for that advice, or did she come to you?
it was a conversation, and it was me just trying to better understand how to move in this space because we had received written correspondence regarding complaints that directly aligned with those that were presented in the actual complaint being discussed, or other complaints for that fact.
Okay, so I'm going to paraphrase here, but explain to me if I understand this correctly. You received an original complaint against MPSU, and then you received subsequent complaints that corroborated the original complaint. Fair?
We've received a lot of complaints, yes.
About MPSU?
Yes.
Okay, and the subsequent complaints confirm the original complaint, is that right?
I think they're pretty much hand in hand with the issues cited.
Who made the original complaint?
Honestly, I don't know because I've only been on the board since 2021, and so I don't know what was discussed before I got on the board. I don't know what decisions were made, and I don't have access to that information, so I can't tell you who the initiator was or the primary initiator. What I can say is that we've heard it from multiple people.
Including Teresa Fallon, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you, as a board director, are able to instruct Matt Chasen to investigate, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Have you done that here?
I believe we've done it once, maybe twice in the two times that I mentioned or referenced earlier. At the times when concerns, official complaints were presented and directives were given by the board.
Okay.
Aside from that, I don't recall too many other times.
What were those complaints that you're talking about? You just referenced the two complaints you just referenced.
Other legal matters that were being pursued by counsel outside of the district on behalf of either former or current employees.
Sure. What were those complaints?
I honestly don't remember off the top of my head all of them.
Sure, there's just two that we're looking for, so can you identify those two?
Can I speak on that, given that the attorneys were present?
Well, if the attorneys were present and they were the ones that presented you with the information, then no, I'm going to instruct you not to respond and assert attorney-client privilege.
Well, so we had testimony from Mr. Reardon, but we need testimony from you on that subject. Are you prepared to answer that question?
I can't go, I won't go against the advice of our counsel.
Okay, so my question to you is simply, can you identify these two complaints?
I'm going to object to the form of the question. It's broad and vague. Also, she testified that attorneys were present when this information was provided.
That's not my question. It's not.
Thereby, I'm asserting attorney-client privilege and instructing her not to answer.
Okay. I just need to be clear. You're instructing the witness not to answer a question on the grounds that she may have heard, there may have been an attorney in the room when she heard something. Is that true?
No. My instruction, there is an attorney present where discussions were had. Thereby, attorney-client privilege has been asserted.
Is the only way that you're aware of these two complaints from this closed session?
Yes, initially, yes.
Okay, how about subsequently?
No.
Okay. Tell me how you learned of these complaints during those times.
She said she didn't learn anything in times other than closed session.
Is that what you said? Because I didn't think I heard that.
Yes, that is.
So the only information you have about these two complaints is in closed session?
Two complaints. Initially, they were presented during the executive session. That is how I found out.
Okay, and when else were they presented?
Of course, when things hit the media or when we receive written testimony, anonymous written statements in the office, of course, you know, it adds to that. But I first found out about these matters during closed session.
Okay, so the complaints, at least one of the complaints we're talking about was in the media, correct?
After the fact, yes.
Sure, what was that media report?
So the MPSU articles about the complaints of whistleblowers and the concerns presented and the request for communications from the district, official communications, open record requests, that type of stuff. That's when, you know, I read about it in the media.
Okay. Which, okay, so you were aware of these two complaints, at least also from the media, fair?
The one for sure, the one.
One, okay, and that complaint that you were aware from the media was from MPSU, correct?
Regarding MPSU. Yeah.
Okay, did it regard Teresa Fowler?
Yes.
Okay. Did you discuss the media report with Teresa Fowler with other board members anytime?
Outside of executive session, no. Outside of executive session, I don't recall.
Okay, but inside of executive session, the answer would be yes, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you're unwilling to tell me what transpired at that executive session, is that right?
I'm instructing her not to because there's an attorney present, so we're claiming attorney-client privilege. We've gone through this a number of times.
Okay. Every time you're in a closed session, is there an attorney?
Not every time.
Okay. Is there any notes that are in any closed session that would indicate who's present?
So typically, when we receive evidence, we'll receive the information. We usually have to turn that in. Sometimes we take our own notes. I've been known to take notes.
Okay. And when you say you have to turn that in, what does that mean?
So the evidence or legal documents are presented to us. We review them, we discuss them, but then we turn that information in. I am under the impression that that is done to avoid anything getting out that can't be released.
Under whose authority do you return those documents?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
Has somebody told you to return documents?
We turn them in at the end. They say they have to collect them.
Who's they?
So it's either the board president or the office of board governance or attorneys.
Okay.
Or all.
Is there ever a vote taken to demand the return of documents presented in closed session?
No, I do not recall a vote ever occurring regarding whether or not we should hand documents, return them, or keep them.
And if I understood you, you said that board governance, sometimes that means Jackie Mann, sometimes tells you to return the documents and then you do it, right?
So,
along with attorneys and board of directors.
Yes.
Thank you for testifying, Chris, but if you would kindly allow...
misstate her testimony. Stop misstating her testimony.
That
It's
doesn't give you
inappropriate.
the opportunity
Yes,
to
it does.
testify. It absolutely does not.
You are misstating her testimony. You're presenting it to her, then asking her a question on it. That's inappropriate. You know it's inappropriate.
Shouting, raising your voice, bass tones, all those things just make it look like you don't have a logical argument because you haven't presented
Go
one.
ahead and
You're just
ask your
repeating
questions.
yourself, Chris. It's kind
All
of
you're
embarrassing
doing-
to the profession.
All you're doing is harassing this witness by keeping here and talking nonsense.
Okay. Was there an answer to my question?
Staring contest now?
I guess that's what
What do
we're
you-
doing,
what
Chris.
do you-
When you stare at me, that's
What are you,
what happens.
12?
That's what happens when you stare. Okay.
The question was, and if I understood you, you said that board governance sometimes, that means Jackie Mann sometimes tells you to return the documents and then you do it right, and then Attorney Reardon said, along with attorneys and board of directors, and then the witness said yes.
Sure. Can you just answer my question, please?
So when we are in executive session and we're presented with legal documents or formal complaints that have been filed, we enter the session, we're given information, and it is expected of us that we return it at the end.
And how are you aware of that expectation?
Because Dr. Mann, the board president, and/or the attorney informs us that we have to return it.
Okay, so it's true on at least one occasion, Dr. Mann has informed you to return evidence and that you've done it, correct?
She has collected evidence from us, yes, as a required directive, I guess, or mandated.
Okay, and you're elected by the people of your district, right?
Yes.
But not Jackie Mann, right?
No,
Okay.
unless she's a constituent.
Is she?
Yes.
She is a constituent of yours?
She's an employee, and I don't know if she's a constituent of mine. I don't believe so.
Okay, so she wouldn't have voted for you then?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I don't think she's in my district.
So do you believe you're an employee of Milwaukee Public Schools?
I am not an employee anymore.
Have you, okay, and I understand that. So, let me try to ask this in the kindest way possible. While you were a director, do you believe that you were a employee of the school board, or the school district?
I don't look at it like that, no. If I'm understanding your question correctly, I am an elected official that was elected in this position by constituents in District 4 in the city of Milwaukee. I am not an employee of Milwaukee Public Schools.
Okay, so with that understanding, it's more fair to say that your bosses or supervisors are the constituents of your district, right?
Absolutely,
Okay, and the people that you should be listening to are the constituents of your district, right?
absolutely.
Okay, and Jackie Mann is not a constituent of your district,
I
right?
don't believe so,
No, okay. Do you believe that you're fulfilling your oath as an elected representative to the citizens of your district by listening to Jackie Mann?
I believe that I am fulfilling my oath to the constituents of Milwaukee because I'm in this position, I'm doing the work, and I'm trying my darnest, but that has nothing to do with Dr. Mann. Dr. Mann is a support, like a walking historian that provides guidance, mentorship maybe, support. But I, at the end of the day, make all of the decisions that I feel are necessary in this role.